Is the iPhone 5 still usable in 2026? The phone was released all the way back in September 2012, and today we're going to find out if it's still usable today, and we're going to see if it's still going to work in 5-10 years down the line. Let's find out. Okay, so before we get started, let's first take a look at all of the features that actually work today. Let's go into the calendar. Okay, what's new in the calendar? We can clearly see location, time to leave. So as you can see, let's go to the 3rd of July, summer bank holiday in Scotland. So it's obviously still working to a certain extent. This phone isn't connected to my email address, so it's not syncing to the iCloud, but it still shows the UK holidays, the birthdays, events, and found in apps. Okay, let's back out. I took some photos earlier, so let's open up the photos and then we can see that obviously the photos still work. It doesn't show the details, which is strange, but I suppose that was a thing in iOS 10 or iOS 9. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. But before I go further, we might as well go into the settings and take a look at some of the important information. We can see that, well, somehow I have 1058 photos on the phone, 80 videos. The phone has 13 gigs of capacity, and if you look at the box, we'll see that this is the 16GB model, so 13 gig after formatting is actually accurate. This is running iOS 10.2 and we also have 11 gigs of storage available. Okay, so this is obviously the settings. We're all familiar with it. We already know how it works, how it used to work. It's not too much different from what you have on iOS 27, for example. So obviously a few settings are different. We don't see our names on the top, not like we do nowadays. The battery information is also pretty bare bones, so we don't get the battery optimization or anything else whatsoever. So I took some photos earlier using the selfie camera and also the rear camera, and I will show you guys that in just a moment. But yeah, in terms of the photos, everything still works. If I connected my iCloud account, it would actually sync with my cloud storage, so it would show me even more pictures that I've taken on other devices. Camera, I was able to record a video on this phone, and obviously we can still shoot time lapses, videos, photos, square, and also panoramas, and the selfie camera still works. Obviously there's not a lot of settings here that you can tweak around and change. It's pretty bare bones, but it still gets the job done. Let's go into Apple Maps. That's one of the things I found, was that Apple Maps, generally, it actually still works today. It shows roads that are closed and all of the other bits, but it's extremely slow. Okay. Let's try to navigate here. Try to load in a smaller chunk of a map. Washington Square Arch. Let's see, do we get information? Okay, 3,000 miles away, not bad. Okay, photos still load. Back out. Phone number, website, address, Wikipedia information. Can we click on that? It's very slow. It still works. Okay. Obviously we can browse the web to a certain extent. Images load, some at least. Would that load in? It was. Yeah. Oh. Error. So we can't load in the high resolution image because Wikipedia servers think we're robots trying to probably scrape what they have, but this one allows us. It sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't. It accepts Apple Pay. We can add it to favorites, report an issue. What about if we try and use the search in Apple Maps? Let's try to look for the Big Ben. No results found. What about if I say London? Would that do the trick? No. That's strange because that actually worked earlier. Okay, well, I'm not sure what's going on. It worked earlier when I tested it, but the live data, well, supposedly works. Well, the live traffic sort of works, but apparently there's high traffic on the Lincoln Tunnel and a few other areas in, assume this is downtown Greenwich Village. I'm not from the US, so you guys can tell me in the comments. Clock, it's a pretty simple app. Stopwatch, doing a few laps. Start, stop, reset, everything still works. Word clock, let's try to add, sure, Abu Dhabi, 8 o'clock. Why wouldn't it work? Obviously, Los Angeles, 8 o'clock. Yeah, that all still works. Bedtime, weather, Let's take a look. My location: London, Edinburgh, New York, Tokyo. So I added all of these. They obviously still work very much, or maybe not. Let's see. It doesn't look like it wants to load the latest data. Let's try and close it. Can I go to the website and load in the details? Cannot verify server identity. Okay, sure. Will it still load? Dean Village. Sure. Edinburgh, Scotland. So that shows 18 degrees, which obviously works. Let's see. What if I disconnect from Wi-Fi and reconnect? This should update. Strange, because this also worked earlier and now somehow it doesn't want to work. What if we add a different city? Even that isn't working. So what if we close everything, try to open it back up? Freedom units. Celsius. No, nothing seems to be working. This worked earlier. You guys can also see one of my shorts. We'll link it up here on the corner so you guys can check it out for yourself. And also, if you guys are wondering, AirDrop still very much works. I haven't tried AirPlay, but all of the photos that I took earlier, I transferred all of these files to my MacBook using AirDrop. So that's also one of the reasons why my Bluetooth was still on. And upon rebooting the phone, I realized that the time and the date was also very wrong. So if we go to the calendar, we can see it's currently 2006, November 29 at 4:39. It's actually, the time isn't too far off. It's 5:39 locally in the UK right now, but it's not 2006, it's 2026, and it's also July, not November. So I tried going into the settings, changing the time, and then I noticed that, well, if I try and change it manually, it will get to like 2018 and then jump to 2038, 2014, 2024, okay, and now 2034. Explain that to me. And now 2038. Let's try and set it automatically. It won't work. This actually happened to my iPhone 4S yesterday, and then when I try and go, it won't be able to check because it's out of sync with the time and the date. So that's why I'm assuming that's why it's not letting me check for the update. So I'm going to connect it to my laptop and see if I can update it on my Mac. Okay, so that's been about half an hour. I have updated the phone, did the time zone changes and everything. So now we can finally get back to it. So the iPhone 5 launched with iOS 6, but obviously it is upgradable up to iOS 10.3.4. And if you have an older iPhone 5, I would strongly recommend you do that because the certificates have expired, and without it, you won't be able to do anything. And if you are having the similar issues that I did, make sure you go into the date and time and set it to automatically. If that doesn't work for whatever reason, try to change the time zone to something else and then change it back to your current and local one, and it will work. That's how I managed to get it working, and then I was able to sign into Apple ID and do all of that stuff. And then obviously once you update it, you will get the updated looks. Let's go back to the Apple Maps. Type in Big Ben, and now it finally works as it should. So we can now search once again Times Square. That works as well. Cool. Now the traffic information also appears to be a bit more up to date, I suppose. I don't have anything to verify this with, but given it's New York, the red lines all make a lot of sense. Still a bit laggy, but you know, you can still find out where to go in the worst case scenario. So it technically works. So we check the clock, the weather, there we go, 27, sunny in London, Edinburgh 18, New York 35. Okay, let's try and add a new city, let's say Dubai, UAE, for example, 40 degrees. It's quite toasty there right now. Okay, that works. Okay, let's check the stocks. So I added SpaceX because I know it was recently added to the stock market. So I can see all of the latest information, 3 month, 1 month, Apple stock. Last I checked, that was actually up to date and correct. And we also get the latest news. We can open in Safari. Yeah, that appears to be working. A bit broken, and it looks like it's still working. I mean, sort of. You can read the article if you really wanted to. Wallet, I haven't tried adding a card, but it does show my Costa card, so technically it does work. Notes, welcome to Notes. Yeah, I suppose that still works. Reminders, yeah, there's no reason that wouldn't work. Okay, The date is finally correct. Cool. Apple News, sure. Will that still work? Let's find out. Okay, top stories. Apparently that was 1 hour ago. Odyssey. Okay. The Apple News app still works on the iPhone 5. And the images load as well, which is good to see. Can we click on anything here? Subscribe to read. Okay, fair enough. It's a bit broken, but I suppose if you only wanted to read 1 or 2 articles, then you still could do it. Okay, the App Store. So the apps do show up on the App Store. We can see the top charts, the free charts, downloading. Application requires iOS 17 or later. Okay. Gemini 17.4. Game. Application requires iOS 15 or later. Okay. But apparently I managed to finally sign in to Apple ID. Google, sure, the latest compatible version. Google Maps, that still work. Latest compatible version, yes, please. Angry Birds, okay, Angry Birds 2, will that work? Or later. I don't get it. I just clicked on require after 15 minutes. That clearly doesn't work. Cross the road. Okay, so stuff I have downloaded in the past. All right, let's try and open up Google Maps. So I managed to get Google Maps up and working. It's extremely slow. Can we see live traffic information? Okay, we certainly can. I can already feel the phone heating up. It's getting to the point where it may be a little bit uncomfortable to hold. Let's see, can we get the information? We get photos, very good. Information, excellent. Reviews as well. Okay, can we search? Times Square. There we go, that's the live data that I was looking for in Apple Maps, which is obviously not working as it should. And Google Maps is showing all of the relevant traffic information. Okay, you can get Google Maps to work on the iPhone 5. Cross the road, let's check it out. I mean, it does technically work. Among Us. I'm not sure about this one. Yep, it instantly crashes. That doesn't work. One more line. Should be a very simple game. It doesn't look like I have music for some reason, but it does still work. So a few apps do work, which is good to see. We may as well try and go into the videos. There's not going to be anything. I didn't buy anything. Health. So the app itself does still open. The phone app. Now obviously I don't have a SIM card in it, and what you also should know is that while the iPhone 5 supports 4G, it doesn't support 4G over LTE. So what that means is that 4G is strictly used for transferring data, and 4G voice over LTE also allows you to make calls over 4G. Now, most modern networks support voice over LTE, which this doesn't support. So if there is a carrier that still supports 4G, this will technically work, but with the state of the carriers now turning off 3G and soon 2G in the next coming months and years, this phone will unlikely to work in the future. So you won't be able to make calls, you won't be able to send text messages, MMS, or anything else. Unfortunately, that's just the way technology works, and we will phase out 2G, 3G, and obviously in the next decade or so, probably 4G as well once we have 6G, and so on. Let's try and look at the web. I remember I tried checking out a few web pages that I wanted to show you guys. So here is the Apple website. It's very broken, but it does technically load. It's just not the best experience. Let's try to tap on the MacBook Air, see how it loads the website. No image. Okay, we do see some images. It's all broken, left, right, and center, but we can zoom out and sort of see some stuff. Okay, that's Wikipedia. Okay, let's try and go to the Verge, for example. Okay, that all seems to work. A little bit broken, but not too bad. Can we read a story? Okay, so that all loads. It's all entirely readable. Photos might not load, but otherwise we can still pretty much read the entire story, no issues. Let's take a look at another post. Google and Epic give up fighting. They have been at it for quite some time. Okay, it does clearly work. Let's try to see it in the reader view. Okay, that certainly provides a better experience. Google. Okay. My battery has went down 50% since I started recording. So Google search also works. Can we open links? Links open. So yes, it does still work. One thing I forgot to do is go into the App Store and let's try and download YouTube, see if that works. It's very hard to type on this small keyboard compared to obviously modern smartphones. So while that's downloading in the background, we might as well talk about some of the key specifications of the iPhone 5, which has a Retina 4-inch display, which was, you know, just a tiny bit bigger than the iPhone 4S, which this replaced with. So this had a 3.5-inch display, this had 4-inch, and essentially you could get an extra row of apps. You know, back in the day, 2012, this was actually a pretty big thing. It was something people really wanted to see, but even in the grand scheme of things, the iPhone 5 was still considered a pretty small device compared to what started appearing on the market. So back then we had the Galaxy S3, I think that came out around 2013. You know, compared to the Galaxy, the Sony Xperias, the LGs, HTC back in the day, the iPhone 5 was still a very small and very compact device compared to those which obviously started growing in size. That was one of the things. The iPhone 5, even today, by today's standards, it's still a very small and extremely lightweight device. I mean, it weighed just 112 grams and it was just as premium back in the day as it is today. It had an aluminium frame and obviously a glass panel on the front, which most phones had, but this metal frame was so unique, especially as most other phones on the market had a plastic shell and also a user replaceable battery. And one of the other things was that Apple decided to put the headphone jack on the bottom, and obviously we had the new Lightning adapter which replaced the third pin connection from the iPhone 4S. And obviously the iPhone 4S also had the headphone jack up on top. The iPhone 5 was practically a brand new phone in terms of design. And now YouTube is downloaded. Let's see if that still loads and works as you would expect. Let's use it signed out. Error while loading, tap to retry. Okay, so it looks like YouTube isn't working anymore. Let's see if we can open it through Safari. Okay, I mean, technically it is loading. You can see the subscribers, number of videos. Okay, so YouTube obviously isn't working. If you visit a channels page, this short loads, but I can't go to another short, so I can't scroll up and down. And the home page, will it load in? It's not working really, is it? Okay, let's check out Siri. What's the weather like in London?
It's currently clear and 27 degrees in London.
27 degrees London. Tell me about iOS 27.
Apple.com should be able to answer that question and more.
Tell me about Android 15.
Here's what I found.
How tall is the Empire State Building?
I found this on the web.
Okay, you found it on the web. You could have just read it out. Anyway, it's just as useful as ever. You know, it's still technically working. Not very useful, but it does work. Can you turn on the flashlight?
I can help with that if you update to the latest version of iOS.
Let's take a look at the music. I will mute the phone. I wouldn't want to get a copy strike on my channel. Let's see. Purchased. Yep, that's working. Everything works as you would expect. So now let's do a quick comparison. Just so tiny compared to a big phone like the iPhone 15 Plus. The difference is quite literally insane. And obviously when it comes to the display size, the difference is even bigger. Let's look at it next to a more reasonable device, iPhone 4S. You can see the one extra row we can fit on the iPhone 5. Obviously the 4S was significantly thicker. Which of these devices did you have? Leave a comment down below and let me know. So when it comes to the camera, you will know that the back of the phone has the single main camera, which has an 8 megapixel f2.4 lens, and on the front you have a single 1.2 megapixel f2.4 camera. So how about we take it out for a spin and show you guys some of the photos that I took earlier. Okay, this is the selfie camera on the iPhone 5. There's no stabilization or anything, so I'm just going to quickly pan around to show you how it performs in broad daylight in sunny England. It's not too bad, but obviously cameras have come a long way since 2012. I'm not sure if you guys can see, but that's really blown out. I can't even see the blue sky right there. Okay, and this is the rear camera on the back. Oh, there we go, there's the sky. It takes a second to adjust. You can also zoom in. Welcome back. And how about the battery life? How long does it last today? Well, as you can see, I started recording maybe an hour and a half ago, so I'm already down to 49%, but I did have to put it on charge to obviously do the update through my Mac. So I would say it can possibly last maybe 1 or 2 hours on a single charge, maybe a little bit more, but the battery on these devices is pretty much toast at this point. So I would strongly recommend you that if you want to hold on to this, maybe take the battery out and just leave it as is, so you know the battery doesn't degrade even further and you can just keep it in a box as is. Or ideally you would replace the battery every 5 to 10 years just so you reduce the chances of causing any type of damage whatsoever. You know, batteries are fragile, they have an expiry date, you have to make sure that they are safe and properly charged up. Do as you want. I will probably be keeping this battery and, you know, keep it topped up to about 60% and make sure that I do that every month, and that should probably make sure that it is well maintained for the foreseeable future. So if you guys like this video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Next week I will be making a dedicated video of the camera quality of the iPhone 5. I will be testing both the main camera and the front camera. I will be making videos and showing you lots of photos of, you know, how it performs in 2026. And next up, I will also make a similar type of video about the iPhone 4S, and then also a camera video focusing on the front and the rear sensors. So if you guys want to see that, make sure you smash that subscribe button so you don't miss it in the future. And I want to be making these kind of videos as part of the Mobile Rewind series, so make sure you subscribe and you don't miss it. All of that said, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.